Come on in, bestie. Welcome to StoryPod, where we do the doing of story development together. Brought to you by Creative BFF. All right. Hello, friend. Good morning for you, or evening or afternoon, whenever you're watching this. Excuse me. I hope you've been well. My name is Ashley. This is the StoryPod podcast, and I am your creative BFF. On this podcast, we get into the storytelling gym, as it were, as I like to call it, and we practice on things that don't have a whole lot of pressure, that we're not trying to write our magnum opus on, so that when we are writing our magnum opus, we're ready, okay? We're ready for it. We come ready to throw the punches, all right, and knock it out of the park. Today, your girl's a little bit sleepy. And also, in my real life, side note, if you want to contact me, all of the linkies are down below in the description. I would say if you have a question that I can answer here on the podcast, a story question, okay, you can send me a message. I was going to say shoot, but then I decided to say send. You can send me a message through my Instagram. I feel it might be the best place to reach me, the quickest place to reach me. You can get story coaching and all of the good things at the links below. In any case, here we are. My brain is a little bit wrung out. Okay, I'm a little bit tired, and also life be lifing, as the kids say, right? And so these past couple of weeks, I lost a little bit of creative momentum with, projects and clients and things that I've been working on. A variety of things have happened. Nothing terrible, but just a variety of things that kind of knock you off course. You guys know what I'm talking about. So in an effort to sort of, do what I say that we do on this podcast, and listen, get in the gym and just, lift some weights. Let's lift some storytelling weights. And then hopefully when the time comes for me to perform for myself and for my clients, I will have, the strength to do so. So in order to do that, we're going to be doing a little exercises, obviously not a Reddit question, because you got no, what do they call it? Cold open, soft open, whatever that's called. We are going to do a little experiment. And last week I put up a video. Part of that video, was it last week or the week before? In any case, part of that video included creating like one of those cliche fantasy book titles, and just kind of like, let's see, what would the story kind of be? It's a short little possible synopsis that went along with the title, and I enjoyed that, and I kind of wanted to do it again. So I found some title generators online. I'm just going to use one of them by the company Reedsy, okay? And I just want to do maybe like three. We'll see how much brain energy I have. But I just want to do a couple and see if we can just, make up a couple of little quick story seeds, that could blossom into something bigger. So let's go ahead and transition the screen so that you can see what I'm looking at. Boop. All right. So you can see that it comes preloaded with something. Now I did do one little test of this just to kind of see how it worked. So I didn't come on here looking a full hot mess, but we're not going to do this one. We're going to generate another one. And I see that they have other options up here. Can you see my mouse? You can. They have other options, story genre options. So maybe we'll try a fantasy, a romance, and a sci-fi. Because I'm going to be honest, crime and mystery are not necessarily my jam. Okay, so we're going to stick with what we like. So we're going to start with fantasy, and we're just going to generate a title. And listen, please forgive me if this fails, because legitimately, I feel like my creative brain is like, molasses, where are you, girl? Come back, creativity. So this is what we're going to call her back. Okay, call her back. So let's generate a title. So the title is Mist and the Ode. And I just got nervous because I'm like, I don't want to take 35 years trying to figure something out. Mist and the Ode. Okay. So let's go generic young adult fantasy. All right. Let's start with a male protagonist this time, however. They're always like a teen, right? So let's make him 18, 19. Okay. So our male protagonist, 18, 19. So we've got clues in the title, Mist and the Ode. And an ode is kind of like, it's always hard to describe an ode. Listen, you can look it up in the dictionary. You know what? Let's do that together. I have a dictionary saved up here, so I have to look around my camera. Open in a new tab. Dictionary is always kind of slow. So let's just make sure we know what ode means. I know what it means. However, listen, don't judge me. Listen, it's his after work special. An ode, a suffix of nouns appearing in load. Wait. What are you talking about, bro? That's not what. Okay, here we go. A lyric poem, typically of elaborate or irregular metrical form and expressive of exalted or enthusiastic emotion. This is, bro, I don't know if I can do it. Why are we not switching back? Thank you. Come back to this one. My computer's been really slow. So the Mist and the Ode, we have a 19-year-old male protagonist. All right. Let's give him humble beginnings because those are the best beginnings, I feel. So he's got humble beginnings. I like the idea of mist. Let's put the mist aspect of it on a faraway land, a mysterious civilization, maybe one that has, as they say, fallen to the mists of time. Am I saying that correctly? Okay, so it's like mythical. It's like, you see my computer telling me it's going to do things. Canceled. Mythical, Atlantean type vibes, but I feel like mist and mountains go really well together. And mountains, I figure regularly in fantasy stories. They're great. They're great for that. So we've got a mystical, magical, mythical mountain of mist. There's a lot of M's and a little alliteration there. How does the ode element come in? So I kind of am feeling like the vibe is, of course, he has to go on some kind of journey, right? Okay, so into his small town. I'm just going with whatever comes off the top of the brain. And this may be terrible. And you put your ideas down below also for this title, and I'm sure they'll be better than mine. So we've got our protagonist of humble beginnings, okay? This 19-year-old young man in a, like a smallish town, maybe not a small town, but like a semi-medium bustling village. So there's some life, you know what I'm saying? We can get some normal life. Okay. I'm thinking that the era is going to be giving, like not modern. I definitely want to feel some historicity in this story. So they live a simple life in this village. You've got your friends, you've got your family. There will be, some interpersonal situations to start off the story, but we're not going to talk about that right now. Okay? Let's say that into this town comes an odd sort of bard-like character. And this town, perhaps this village, doesn't get a whole lot of, outsiders, perhaps outside of merchants. And so maybe listen, I'm getting a circus vibe in my mind or something. Okay, so let's say, hold on, let's retcon a little bit of this. Not really, but we've got this village, medium-sized village, and let's say every so often, every year or whatever, or every few years, a circus type of performing group comes into town or something, or outskirts of town, because we love a mysterious circus, I feel, or I do. It's kind of cool. And in that mysterious circus, perhaps there is like a bard or fortune tellery type of character. And let's say that our protagonist, like the rest of the town, goes to this circus and of course gets drawn in. I want to say it's a bard instead of a fortune teller, because fortune tellers kind of seem like expected, right? And let's say that there is either a love interest or just a good friend or perhaps a sibling of some sort that he's going with, right? Maybe like a sibling or something, because it's always nice to find love along the way. And he's going to find some love. Because if I make it a love interest right now, with the way I'm thinking about going, you know, I want to find love along the way for him. So let's say it's like a sibling or something of some sort. And this bard has some sort of, listen, this is not going to be, hopefully I'll warm up as we move through these. This bard is kind of mystical, magical, whimsical, mysterious, like these misty mountains. And perhaps he's singing a tale of a hero and something connected to these misty mountains. Bro, I'm struggling. Listen, please forgive me. And I want to say that it's like a prophetic song that's going to be about our protagonist, right? And somehow the story of this song, and of course it's like perhaps it's even something where nobody's listening to this bard, but our protagonist kind of wanders that way, like in a little nook and cranny of the setup of this circus. And the bard begins to spin a song, and perhaps this bard kind of has the quality of someone who perhaps is not actually part of this circus, but because he's mystical, magical, you know, prophetic, he comes, whatever his, you know, we may or may not ever see him again in the story, whatever his purposes are in coming to this circus to encounter this protagonist, he sings this song that tells the tale of this journey, but perhaps not all parts, not every part of it, so that we can have some things unfold in this journey. And you know, we see our protagonist kind of being like drawn in and in like a trance-like type of thing, really like intensely focusing on it, kind of like weaving this tale around him, this prophecy around him or whatever. And then perhaps what gets him on the journey to these misty mountains is his sibling or whoever he was with disappears from, you know, during this circus, or perhaps not that night. Maybe, you know, the next day the family wakes up and the sibling is not in the bed. And maybe this younger sibling, because now it's a younger sibling, was always enthralled with this circus. And so they're thinking maybe he or she, you know, ran away, you know, ran back to the circus or something like that, because maybe they have a tendency to kind of like escape. So the brother is like, okay, I'll go find him or her. And they go, and he goes to the place the circus was at, but the circus has disappeared and it's not there anymore, or whatever, you know, something mysterious maybe. And so now the only clues that he has to go on is this ode that the bard sung the previous night. Maybe there's like a couple of actual things like on the ground. I don't know if they'd be like artifacts, you know, things of the sibling to give him a clue that yes, the sibling perhaps was not captured up by the circus, but like perhaps is, all he has to go on is maybe traveling with the circus, but the circus is really hard to track because maybe it is kind of like mystical, magical from these misty mountains, you know what I'm saying? And so now he has to go on this journey to find his sibling. But along the way, he becomes this hero that basically becomes the hero of this ode that the prophetic bard spun. Listen, that's all I can give you for this. As I fumbled my way through that, I'm like, this is going to be harder than I thought it was going to be. You know what I'm saying? So let's try romance. Woo, let's see. Oh, romance might be, listen, I'm going to generate a title, but I'm going to be honest with you. I might not try to do a romance one based on the title, because I feel like fantasy titles kind of give more for the story than I feel like a romance title would, but we're going to see. We're not going to use this first one. Playground Illusion. Playground Illusion for a romance, bro? For a romance? So like a typical childhood friends to lovers type vibe. I don't know. I'm not feeling that one. I'm not feeling it. Let's try one more and then we're going to move to sci-fi. Impossible Spindle. Nah, romance is flopping. Let's go to sci-fi. Zodiac of Hyperion. That's pretty epic sounding, but we're not going to use the first one. 2132 Harbor. No, that doesn't even sound good. Steel Sun. Bro, I'm flopping. 2938 Benediction. What? Listen, this is real life. Okay, this is real life. I'm looking down to see how long I've been recording because I'm like, it might just be that one flop of a story that I did. I kind of wanted to talk about. Listen, I'm talking to you like you're one of my friends, honestly, because you are. We're besties. Like, this is how we jump around in conversation, right? I'm gonna give it one more time and then we're gonna go back to fantasy. Because 2938, wait, 2938 Benediction. 2938 Benediction. Let's look up benediction. I generally know what it means. I say that, but do we really? Let's look it up. Benediction. All right, benediction. Give me something. Give me something. This website, by the way, dictionary.com, is so slow. And I don't understand. Maybe it's just too big because there's like millions of words. Okay, benediction, an utterance of good wishes, the form of blessing pronounced by an officiating minister, as at the close of a divine service, ceremony by which things are set aside for sacred uses as a church, vestments, or bells, also called benediction of the Blessed Sacrament, a service consisting of prayers, at least one prescribed hymn, censing of the congregation and the host, and a blessing of the congregation by moving in the form of a cross of the ciborium or monstrance containing the host. I think that's Catholic. Situations, the advantage conferred by a blessing, a mercy or benefit. Can we do something with this, guys? I wish you were here in real life so that we could bounce ideas off of each other. 2938 benediction, sci-fi. My brain said no. But listen, if you can come up with an idea for that, put that down there. I'm gonna leave that one for you. 2938 benediction. You have the definition of benediction. This is a sci-fi, okay? Go ahead and leave in the comments what your story would be for that. These ones that I'm skipping, those ones are for you, okay? Next one. Distant Skull. Nah, we're not gonna be able to do it. We're gonna go back to fantasy. Like, honestly, I'm flopping, bro. But listen, sometimes this happens, right? I'm flopping hardcore, but we're still friends, right? This is going to be a flop episode. I've accepted it, and that's okay. Fantasy. Thief of Six. That's kind of cool. I don't know if I can make a cool story out of it, but I kind of like that idea. I like the idea of a thief, kind of like the main character being a thief, okay? But like, he's a little bit of a rogue. Again, we're going to do a male. Okay. A little bit of a rogue, living on the edges of society, perhaps. What kind of society? 6. Let's see. What kind of society, guys? What kind of society? Bro, my brain is dying. Thief of 6. Rogue, a lovable rogue. Thief. Thrust into a situation outside of his control. Okay. Perhaps he stole the wrong artifact. Now this is all so cliche, bro, but my brain is only operating in cliches right now. Please forgive me. Like, this is just the seed, right? And then we would take these cliches and then we would turn it into something beautiful. Okay. So don't judge me based on these story seeds that are kind of whack. They're kind of flopping, but it's okay. So what do we have here? Lovable rogue, accepted a job, not really paying attention to the full scope of what it would entail. Perhaps there was a little bit of, what is it called? There were some stakes attached to it, some high stakes. Perhaps something or someone that he cared about, either was being threatened or was there was an offer of help for some need that he had, or that the person that he cared about had, if there is a person. And so whatever the impetus, or it could just be that it's like he's a thief and he takes these kind of jobs and he just needs some money and was supposed to be like a regular job, break into this place, grab this artifact, drop it at the location. And then perhaps when he's in this particular, on this job, perhaps he encounters who will become his love interest, who is going to be on the opposite side of the coin, probably, because that's always good, right? Enemies to lovers. Is that something that we love, right? But perhaps this artifact confers some abilities and powers that were unexpected. Perhaps it's kind of like similar to like a sword in the stone type of vibe, where maybe there's something in this particular thief's past that the person who hired him or the organization who hired him knew, making him the right candidate to grab this, because maybe it is something like there are certain protections set up, maybe magical protections set up around this artifact that have made it so that nobody else has been able to get it thus far, but he's able to. So maybe it's like, let's give it like a dusty, deserty type of place that he has to go to, like a cave in the desert type of vibe, or a ruined temple in the desert type of situation, right? You can kind of picture it. It's hot. There's sand falling from the ceilings. It's quiet, but it's grand, even though it's, decaying, so it's like dangerous, but it's beautiful. We've got that hot afternoon sun beaming down and casting long shadows and all that kind of stuff. And it's kind of just been left to time, and people have forgotten about this particular place. And there's an artifact, perhaps one of 6 artifacts, okay, that he eventually will have to capture. But perhaps as he's going in to get this artifact, there's another, maybe, I don't know if she would be a thief, or if she would be like somebody who's on a more righteous side. We kind of love that, like a paladin type of vibe. I'm sorry, the word vibe is the word of the night. Please forgive me. A paladin, kind of holy order, goody two shoes type of person, maybe. And it can rub each other the wrong way. And then they eventually rub together quite well, right? They fall in love. But anyway, that's in the future. So of course, this temple probably could potentially, depending on, where we need to be in the story, has, all these traps and things, or it could just be like you walk in and you kind of are able to get it, this artifact or something. And perhaps this artifact confers its powers and abilities on this thief, or perhaps these powers and abilities, after some struggle, some conflict, is split between the two, and so now they're forced together. And also them interacting with this artifact perhaps confers the other word of the night. It gives them the quest that they now have to go on to get the other 5 artifacts. And now that this has begun, perhaps it is something, I don't know if it should be something that's like going to affect the whole world. That could be like, world destruction type stuff, or maybe not. Maybe it could be world destruction type stuff. My brain always goes to like, what's the biggest stakes that could possibly happen? Or perhaps there is, an important child or person or ruler or something who needs something. I don't like that one. We're gonna scratch that. That's boring. Let's say it's a world changing type of thing. So even if it's not like destroying the world, there could be a massive change that would happen to the world depending on the fate of these artifacts, right? And who gets them, perhaps. And so now these two perhaps are forced together. Maybe they are on the run, and maybe they are now both, what is it called? Like fleeing or seen as, what is it called? Like not renegades, but fugitives from their respective orders, or she becomes a fugitive from her holy righteous order because now she has these powers, these abilities, or whatever the case may be. And maybe they're like seen as something unholy or whatever. And so now she's tainted or something, and she wants to get it off of her so she can go back to her order. And so now they are going on a quest. I kind of like that story seed a little bit, because I kind of like these two characters already, because you can kind of guess how they would act, a little bit to a certain extent, and how they might interact with each other, and then how they might start to respect each other, and then enjoy each other, and then fall in love type of situation, and then how they will handle this quest. It's always a quest. I love a quest. I'm sorry. Should we do one more? What time is it? It's been 30 minutes of me fumbling and flopping around. So instead of doing another one of these, I might come back and do these more. But instead of doing another story, I feel like I kind of want to briefly talk about a game that I enjoyed. And I played it like a couple months ago. And it's called, because I was talking about Nier and how I kind of was like, I don't know how I'm feeling about it. This I didn't like the way they did this particular story thing. I won't go back into it, but a game that I did actually unexpectedly enjoy the story of is called Planet of Lana, and it's a semi-brief, I want to say maybe 6 to 10 hour game. I don't even know if it was 10 hours, maybe 6 to 8 hours or something like that. Kind of, sort of, I guess I would call it an action platformer type of thing. And at first, when I was, first coming into, it was on sale. That's why I bought it. And it had good reviews. And in the first couple of minutes, kind of the tutorial section of you chasing your friend through this kind of fishing village, it felt quaint and everything, but I also was kind of like, I don't know if I'm going to get into this. I don't know if I want to do this kind of quaint, small village platformer type of thing. But I was like, let me give it a minute. And it captured me. Cause I didn't really like read any reviews. I just saw that it was on Steam. So I saw that it, was very positive. I maybe watched the first few moments of any trailer. I don't even know if I really watched the trailer, but it was on sale for really cheap. So I was like, I'll get it, whatever. So I was surprised the direction that it went. And this surprise very early on captured me enough to be like, what is going on? Because it was a weird juxtaposition. So we're starting off with, like I said, this quaint fishing village. There's no dialogue, except for like names and sound effects that the characters are making, like laughing, breathing, whatever, that kind of stuff, grunting and whatever. But when she catches up to her friend, it's like aliens or machines. I didn't know what they were. They looked like aliens because they were falling from the sky. I was like, is this like an alien invasion? Like, what's happening here? I didn't realize really what it was until further on in the game. But that juxtaposition of a quaint sort of fishing town, not modern looking. I honestly can't think of like what the name of the era of this would be. But very, I don't even know. It felt very indigenous, that kind of thing, indigenous peoples type of look to it. And I really enjoyed that. And then it's like machines or aliens or something falling from the sky. And that juxtaposition caught my attention. And then, we go through the game and the puzzles are very enjoyable. They weren't like crazy. It was a game that I could enjoy, after work, and didn't require a lot of emotional, at least I thought, didn't require a lot of like super brain power, super emotional energy. There's a time and a place for that. But it was just, the puzzles were challenging enough to be enjoyable. And the style was very cute. I thought it was very beautifully put together, as a whole. But I was very surprised at the end, and my emotional reaction to the end. I definitely was like, ooh, why am I getting choked up over this? Because you get this little creature. I apologize if I'm spoiling it, spoiler alert. You can turn it off here. Have a great weekend if you decide you want to play this game. But early on, you get this little creature who basically is your partner in the game and helps you solve the puzzles and, make your way to trying to. Okay, so what happens is, your friend gets captured, as does the rest of the village, by these alien or machine or robots, whatever these things are that are invading at this time. And so now her journey is to try to get her friend. I don't know if it's a friend. I was like, I don't know if this is your brother or if this is like your best friend. At the very end, it seemed like there might have been a little bit of romantic-y type stuff. So I'm like, okay, maybe it's just like your best friend. So he gets captured, and now she is going on this quest to try to find her friend. And it's a very simple kind of setup, nothing crazy, but you get this little creature who, as I said, assists you on your journey. And you kind of save the little creature from some stuff. And at the end, by the end of the game, without any dialogue and really only kind of seeing Lana and this little creature, the writers of this game were able to, or the creators of this game were able to make me care enough about these characters for at the very end when I won't super spoil it, when a sacrifice happens and Lana starts to see, because the music was a part of it too. So Lana starts to sing a song over this creature who sacrificed itself, and her singing the song, that was a theme that kind of carried throughout the game, if I'm remembering correctly, a musical theme. I was like, bro, why am I getting choked up? Because it wasn't like there was like a whole lot of like character development and all of this kind of stuff. They did just enough for me to have the emotional reaction that they probably wanted me to have. And it surprised me, and I was very pleasantly surprised because I was enjoying the game anyway. The gameplay was fun enough and everything. And they gave you enough of the story throughout. It kind of felt a little bit like some of what they were doing really kind of felt a little bit, or reminded me of, or was reminiscent of Horizon. I think it's just called Horizon, right? The one with that looks like prehistoric people, but there's like these machine animals. Great game. That was another good one. It kind of gave me that kind of a little bit of those kind of vibes throughout the game. But they were able to make me care about the sacrifice that happened here and care about how she was reacting to it, and to be happy when it all turned out well, right? And so that's such a juxtaposition, that this small little game with no dialogue, not a whole lot of deep character development. I don't really know the backstory of Lana or the people or anything like that, or her friend, but somehow they were able to make me care. And I had an emotional reaction to the end, the last act of the game. And I was like very surprised by that. And it's kind of interesting when I compare that to Nier, and how almost immediately or very early on, or without having earned it, I think is how I phrased it in the previous video, it seems like they're trying to get me to react emotionally without giving me the chance to connect with the characters in any way, shape, or form, or for me to see the characters connect with each other. Because with Planet of Lana, even though there's no dialogue, and of course this little creature doesn't speak the same language, the human language, right? And they're not talking anyway, or at least not in a language that we can understand. I got to see enough of their relationship. We went through the whole game basically with these two together, helping each other. And then at the right time, they did something in the story that allowed me to join in and to participate in the emotional reaction that Lana was having to the sacrifice that this little creature made, and to how she honored this little creature. And then when it all turned out okay, I was able to be happy and relieved along with her. And then when I saw the the epilogue of kind of the little snippets of now where the society is, I'm not going to say everything that happened, and then see her with her friend, and kind of like, okay, we can guess that they are going to end up in a romantic relationship, and the little creature is fine and all this kind of stuff. I was able to feel the happiness and the relief, or whatever the emotions. I was able to participate in the catharsis of the end of the game because of the journey that they took me on in this short, small in scope, especially probably in comparison to Nier, little game. And I was like, this was good storytelling. Good, short-ish game storytelling. So I would say this was not supposed to be like a recommendation, but like, listen, Planet of Lana was great. I enjoyed it. if you like the kind of puzzly, actiony, platformery type of game with a little bit of story that you can enjoy, check it out. Hopefully it's still on sale. And if not, it's not that crazy expensive. So anyway, I'm going to stop here. Listen, thank you for bearing with me, because, when you're talking to your friends and you're a little bit loopy, a little bit delulu, a little bit sleepy, and you just keep talking, and they're good friends, so they bear with you. I feel like that's what happened today. This was a flop, but you can't always win them all, right? Sometimes story ideas are not great. I invite you, in fact, to either make up your own stories based on these titles and also on the titles that I did not utilize, or take what I did and make it better. Girl, tell me this is what it should have been. This is what I would do with the little couple of nuggets that I came up with. You know what I'm saying? And I would love to see that. Make it better. Take what I did and make it better, please, because it was a struggle. Sometimes it happens, right? Anyway, listen, have a great weekend and a beautiful day. Go get some sun or some snow or some air, whatever's going on in the atmosphere around your home. Go for a walk, okay? Eat an apple and get your sleep. Okay, listen, love you. Bye.